So this video is a build along for a one piece, two folded, two pocket card wallet with an incorporated pull tab. So for this project, I'm using Italian designer goat skin. This is about 1 mil thick, but this pattern will work with up to 2 mil of leather. The pattern can be found in the link in the description down below. If not, go to www.handmadebyalex.com and look in the pattern section. I chose this leather as it has a nice top finish and the back is finished and exceptionally smooth as well. You'll want to line your pattern up so you can find a nice piece of your material, trying to reduce as much waste as possible. If we do have some waste, it's okay, because we can use some of it later on. We're going to mark around the pattern using a scratch awl. You can use a pen or you can just cut directly around the pattern if you've taped it down to your material. We're going to lightly mark where the fold lines are in blue, the dotted lines, and also where our cut lines are going to go for the pull ribbon. We do not have to incorporate the pull ribbon on this design. The next step is to cut the pattern out. I'm going to use a rotary cutter for this thickness of leather. If you're unsure of which tool is the best to use, there is a link in the description below where I explain my preferred tools on different thicknesses and types of leather. We're going to do a sanity check against the pattern and use some old credit cards to make sure that everything looks nice and neat and spaced up. We're going to score on where we're going to be stitching. At this point, if using vegetable tanned leather, you can bevel and burnish the shorter and internal edges as well. I'm going to mark our stitching lines and cut the holes for the pull ribbon. I use my maker's knife here a lot. This is one of my favourite tools here in the workshop. Reviews and links for this can be found down below. Next, what we want to do is punch the holes through on the internal part where the ribbon's going to sit. This will be hidden by the fold over, so we don't need to be too fancy with our stitching. Just lock our thread, our needle on, and just stitch through. Not doing anything too fancy, I'm not saddle stitching this, but you can saddle stitch. Make sure you snip and singe the ends of your thread. I use a thread zap too. There is a review for this on the channel. Next, we're going to punch the stitching holes, what is going to be a hidden part of the stitching. These will go through the internal of the wallet and the back part will not be seen. I like to use a pulling block to prevent deformation of the holes when removing your stitching chisel from the leather. These are available from the website, also on the link below. Here we are test fitting and making sure that everything lines up. We're going to lightly mark where the holes are on the internal flap. As we can see, the holes are here. I'm going to punch through. Now here comes the tricky bit. Trying to use a straight needle is no good. What we're going to have to do is go to a curved needle. These can be found online. I shall link some below. Just unpick where I've done with the straight. So with this we can feed it through. We can still do a saddle stitch of sorts with this. For this demonstration I'm just going to do a straight stitch. And start from the inside on the second hole, do one back stitch. We're going to go up and then back through the ones we've just done. Using the curve of the needle makes it much easier to get into the additional holes further down. Just make sure you keep your ribbon out of the way and try to keep a good eye on what you're doing. I'm going to stitch all the way down and then all the way back up. Snip and singe your thread, and this is where the threads up to really comes into its own because you can feed it into the gap. Next we're going to pull the top part of the ribbon through the back slot that we've already cut. So here we can see the basic outline is ready. I just need to stitch the bottom closed. I'm just going to use the side of my stitching chisel to give me a stitching line. You can ideally use a creaser or some wing dividers to do this. Going to punch through all the layers. So at this point we're going through 3 layers. Using a pulling block and going through multiple layers is quite beneficial, as it reduces the risk of deformation when removing the chisel. And always remember to slide the leather off of the chisel as opposed to just pulling the chisel straight out. Next we're going to stitch all 3 layers together. This is not a demonstration or an instructional video on saddle stitching, there are plenty of those around. I learnt this from Nigel Armitage and highly recommend his channel on hand sewing, I'll link it below. But here we want to make sure that we're going through all 3 layers and then it reduces down to 2, and then we're just going to secure our stitching as well. Make sure you snip and singe. I like to tap my stitching down ever so gently with a flat or rounded faced hammer just to get a nice consistency with the look of the stitching. Using a scrap of the same leather from earlier, we can make the tab to go on the end of the ribbon. This is just to stop the end of the ribbon from fraying over time with use. So we're going to check that the ribbon length is right and the cards fit, and just to ensure that everything lines up, we're going to fold over the excess, and we can use a small piece of leather, as mentioned, to cover that.
don't want to vanish.
I've marked and cut tab to the appropriate length. Then what I shall do is glue it and punch some holes through and stitch it into place.
Very good. It comes in, the feeling, but in a new way. I want to show you how important yourself is.
Ideally this would be saddle stitch, but for the ease of this video I'm just doing a running stitch, wrapping around the end and coming back on myself.
Drop kick, my God. Drop kick, my God.
If you're using thicker vegetable tanned or unfinished leather, you can do your beveling burnishing at this point if you haven't already. And there we have it, a one-piece, two-pocket card holder with a pull tab. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more leatherworking tips, tricks and build-alongs, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to be notified when new videos go live.